Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is often the right one, or at least there's no need to become too elaborate and extravagant when adding unnecessary details to a postulation or a hypothesis, all right? Whatever the simplest reasoning is to fully explain something, you don't need to add any extra stuff. So today we're talking about predictive programming, and particularly examples such as in The Simpsons when they predicted that Trump would be president, and especially that particular scene where Trump is coming down the escalator and the girl drops a sign and the guards are at the top of the escalator, and this was depicted 10-15 years prior on an episode of Simpsons. Now there's a lot of stuff like this happening, whether it's through song, whether it's through drawn depictions and artwork, whether it's through books, whether it's through especially cartoons and movies, okay? Such as with the 911, there was a cop show like 3 or 4 months before it happened, right? With the Twin Towers. And in the show, they talked about, the American government talked about staging, all right, a hoax terrorist attack in order to settle the towers, the Twin Towers, to cause a financial reset. That was the overall agenda. And I don't know if that's predictive programming. Maybe just some guy, some elite was watching telly, and I know they're the elite, but I'm sure they still watch TV, and he was probably just like, oh, that's a good idea. I'll tell the boys about that. Who knows? But there seems something to it. There seems something to predictive programming, and, people just asking why. And some people think, it's kind of implied by the name, predictive programming, that they're deliberately putting this information out there to predict events that are already planned in advance, all right, as a form of programming so that you become primed or ready and susceptible to actually receiving this reality that they are now showing you just a fictional representation of. When it happens for realsies, you're not going to lose your shit. It's not going to be too much shock factor because you've already been exposed to the idea. That's the idea of predictive programming. It programs you for the things they're planning, and when the punch comes, hopefully you don't react as badly, and they can control you, okay? And make it all seem more normal, the rash and crazy things that just keep on happening in the world. It's like, oh, well, we've seen it on TV, so whatever, no shock. I don't believe that it's all predictive programming. Maybe some of it. I don't even think most of it is, though. I think there is a simpler, if we are to use Occam's razor, a simpler explanation. Now, I'm not a religious person in the sense that I follow any particular book. I believe I've got my book in my heart, and it's got the word, that flaming sword that cuts through the night. Whether you want to call it Christ consciousness or your intuition that speaks to you from your heart and that you can interpret and hear that whisper of through your right brain, okay? And then choose to act on. And this comes in the form of inspiration, intuition, instinct, okay, ideas, okay? I believe we all have that our own kind of compass. And I also believe that it's not just, I've got my book and my compass, you've got your book and your compass. I believe we've got the same compass and the same book with the same word in it at any given time, okay? I believe that we are conduits, nay, radios, tuned into the same frequencies. And, being that we all have our own different kind of genetic design as radios, physical radios, we decode the signal that we're all receiving, that one singular signal, we decode it and we create our own unique and signature sound. And we think, oh, this is me, look at this unique sound I'm making. But really, that's just the point of diversity, through putting one source of information through a multitude of funnels, of transformers that takes that singular source of information and transits it into form. We're just transformers with legs and arms. Legs for mobility, arms for manipulation, procreative systems so that we can keep replicating. The pump to keep the water going, because, well, what is water? What are we without energy and motion? Without emotion? And we need the water for that energy to flow through, all right? And the water is our emotion. Even intention alone and the way you think and feel affects the actual subatomic structure of the water molecules. Okay? So, or the molecular structure, sorry, not subatomic. But I digress. I believe we all share a singular voice, a singular compass, and it guides us all when we listen to it. All right. The left brain, however, doesn't really hear this voice because that's more the right brain. And let's break down the hemispheres for you. Okay. The right brain, which takes the word from, I guess, the pineal gland. Read up on that. The eye of Ra, the brain cut in half, the Ra, pineal gland, comparison shot. Find it. All right. Just type in brain dissection, eye of Ra, and then read up on the pineal gland and chuck in seat of consciousness and H gland, because it is the H gland. It connects the hemispheres of the left and the right. The right brain deals with the feminine, all right? It deals with the abstract. It deals with bringing things together and looking for commonalities despite aesthetic differences, despite the details. It looks for the hidden principles, the abstract, hidden world underneath the surface, and it looks for meaning there, okay? It is the part of the brain that is responsible for us feeling inspired and being creative, okay? Whether it's music or art, whatever, dance, lovemaking, whatever you can throw yourself to, or when you meditate. The idea of meditation is you're getting out of your left brain, right? And into this zone where you are more present in the moment, where you can better heed this voice, or your intuition and your instinct and your inspiration, and you can feel inspired with your right brain, the feminine, emotionally perceptive brain that deals with art, philosophy, okay, creativity, okay? And that part of the brain, because it channels that voice that comes from that signal, which is itself consciousness that's being decoded by all us little decoders out here, that consciousness is not bound to time and space. It isn't local. It isn't finite. All right? It is omnipresent, omniscient, all that stuff. It's omnipotent. It's everywhere. And that's including every when. Because time is a left brain construct. The left brain takes the information of the world, all right, and looks for the black and white comparisons, and it distinguishes for differences. It discriminates the world into pieces so that we can break down the infinite, and instead of having our minds explode, we can allot it into more manageable categories, all right? The left brain, if you think of it as a GPS system, your gypsy to get you places, your right brain is the compass, the software that guides you to your destination at any given time. The left brain is the actual map that shows up, and it's an interface. Your left brain is merely just a calculating transformer, information into form that you can see and interact with in the physical world. It doesn't deal with the abstract, artistic, principle shit. It deals with the more detailed, specific, surface, all right, physical world. It is the scientific mind, the black and white mind, in contrast to the colorful artistic mind. This is the more rational, more logical, more deductive, whereas this joins things back together again. This creates ideas. This figures out how to actually implement the idea in reality using physical resources around us. This comes up with the strategies for what we should do, and it allows us to anticipate future events and do contingency planning. The left brain actually is the part that says, okay, here's my contingency plan, but here's the actual things I need to physically set up and where and when to do it. It's all about space and time. That's the left brain. The right brain is not space and time. It's not space and time. That voice that's omniscient, it's all existing, it's all being everywhere, which also means by necessity of that, it doesn't exist in the left brain linear world that the left brain shows us when we're awake. And that's why when you sleep, you just wake up, you know, like, whoa, where'd the time go? Because your left brain is no longer creating a sense of time. The right brain senses the word, and the word is timeless. So here's the simple explanation as to what I think is underlining the whole entire predictive programming prophecy thing. I think that when you are being creative, and when you are truly inspired, and you just don't even think about it, you just express your feeling, you express your art, you put it down into page or what have you, all right, and you start drawing or you start writing, that because you are connecting to a sphere of information that exists not just now, but in the past and the future, simultaneously wrapped up together. It is possible to get glimpses and to pick up traces and clues from the future, as the left brain calls it. Alright? Based on current trajectories of how things are set to happen. Okay? And it just makes sense. If the right brain is what looks into that timeless realm and connects us universally over cultures and keeps Carl Jung's ground unconscious archetypes, alright, surviving through the aeons, then it makes sense. Not only will it record everything in the past, but because it's beyond time, and time perception is an illusion, and the future's already there, everything's happening at once, the right brain can actually channel information from anywhere. Information doesn't just come randomly, and you don't make it. You don't create it. You're not the originator. No one's original. Everything is rehashed. Everything is taken from the ocean of information that's already there. And we just think because we're the radio playing this song, this sound, that it's us, it's our truth, it's our art. We own it, but it's not really the case. And even back in the day, they used to recognize that inspiration was like an entity that would come and visit and come through you, which is why you must just run with it. Because how many times have you been inspired to make a song or whatever, write a poem, and then you stop halfway, try to go back later, and you just lose the momentum? Okay? It comes and it goes. And I believe that it just makes more sense, as opposed to people whispering in the shadows, hey, make sure you put this predictive programming text in here. Hey, put this symbolism over here. That takes more work. That's more conspiratorial, okay? It makes more sense that we're all drawing our inspiration, our creativity, our ideas and concepts from the ground unconscious through the right brain, where stored is the past and the future, and therefore we reflect inherent truths and outcomes yet to occur to the side from that ground unconscious that is all being, from that consciousness that is all perceiving, the all seeing. Just food for thought, you know. Yeah, that's basically it. Surely good.